Well, hey, everybody, this is Bob Engel, and today I'm having words with a virtual friend, Jon Scott. Jon and I don't know each other personally, but I will tell you from his very perceptive voice that I continually see online that we know each other spiritually. And the format here today is we're just going to have a conversation. I think it's very timely for anyone who comes on Unearned Words to hear what Brother Jon's got to say. Brother Jon, welcome to my humble podcast.
Brother Bob, thank you for the invitation. It's an honor.
Yeah. I told you a little earlier. I do homework to prepare for a podcast, as I should. You owe that to your guests. And I dug into you, and what I came up with was a three-part discussion I'd like to have with you today.
Okay.
Our brother Malachi said, the Lord said, "This is what I require of you." It's not a suggestion, by the way. This is what I require of you, that you do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly before your God. When Flo and I were ordained in 1984, there was a whole lot of stuff went on around that. But the one thing I remember is that word was what was said over me. And so that's a capstone in my life. And everything I hear you saying and doing reflects exactly that. You clearly perceive the Holy Spirit's message in that. Talk to me about it a little bit. Let's talk about doing justice. I think it's a very appropriate thing to talk about in these times.
Yeah, I think that my biggest concern with people of any religious community, but certainly Christianity, is that often we have forgotten that that's a directive. It is a commandment from the prophet Malachi. Now, Malachi considered to be a minor prophet because it's a small book, but not because his calling was minor. Major prophet, large book; minor prophet, small book, in the Christian Bible and in the 66 of the Protestant canon. But the power behind those words it's often forgotten. In the United States, there's been a whole string of injustice over the years. We could go through and name those and list those today. But instead, I would prefer to ask our listeners, where does that land in your nervous system when you hear do justice? That this is the job. So if we're not human doings, we're human beings. Often we forget that because we're really taught to be productive citizens instead of just living and learning to live from the Yod He Vov He, which is the reference in Exodus account to God, the I am that I am, which just means the happening. Yeah. So often we get caught up in doing more than being. But if we're going to do anything, especially if we're going to claim the name of Christ and we're going to call on God and we're going to say we're good at our religion, whatever it may be, in this case, Christianity, then doing justice is the commandment. Like there's really not another commandment. Now, we know that Jesus says to love the Lord God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And all of the prophets and the law hinge on these two. He simplified 630 some odd laws that had been given, attached to the 10 Commandments, by the way, because that's what humanity tends to do, is put words in God's mouth and ask God to sanction it. But the doing justice asks us to view the world through the lens of the divine, not the lens of my whiteness, my maleness, my Americanness, my Republican or Democratness. Those aren't words, we're just making them up. But I think you get what I'm saying. It's asking us to look at people, humanity, laws, rules, legislation through the eyes of the divine and ask ourselves, is this just? I think we could all agree that there's grievous injustice taking place now, has been for a long time. This is really just a high level exposure of really what's been underneath the whole time. It's a tumor that's been growing.
You made a very interesting point recently, like in the last couple of days, and that is all of a sudden a couple of people of non-color, a couple of white people get killed, and it's a big deal. This kind of thing happens in the hood all the time.
All the time.
Unfortunately, we tend to not relate to it until it gets that close to home. But the fact is, Malachi's words are very reflected in "Love your neighbor as you love yourself." I mean, it's absolutely a fulfillment. And parable of the Good Samaritan, that's my favorite parable in the Bible. And I love it when the young lawyer says, "Well, who's my neighbor?" And he's expecting Jesus to say, "Well, you know, the guy you play golf with that lives in the gated community with you, et cetera, et cetera." Instead, he says what in today's vernacular, if you were standing in a Southern Baptist church or conservative evangelical church, he would say, "Well, let me tell you a story about a good gay Muslim." Completely offensive. The Samaritan was totally unacceptable in the culture that Jesus was speaking into, and yet because he did justice, by stopping. It's fascinated me that in that story 3 people walked by. You know, John Maxwell wrote about survival, success, and significance, and the Lord showed me that the priest walked by and he didn't want to pollute himself by touching a potentially dead body. That's survival. The Levite walks by, a man who was successful in keeping the law and so on. And he looked on him, and I can hear him saying, "Well, what do you expect? You get on this road, you fall in with thieves. This is what's going to happen to you. Tough luck, buddy."
Yep.
Then a certain Samaritan who was on a journey. Keep in mind the other 2 guys happened by. This is the first guy here that's actually going somewhere in his life. He's on a journey. And he looked upon him with compassion. And I've taken that parable apart a word at a time. And one day I got to, and he put him on his own beast. And I said, "Okay, Lord, what's the deal there? What's that?" And I don't hear voices, but I know what I'm spoken to. And what the Lord said to me is, "If you're willing to be significant in my name, you won't have to carry the load." We're talking about looking at the injustice with compassion here, aren't we?
Yeah, and not looking at it for judgment of anyone else, but discernment of my own reaction.
Yeah.
I mean, this is always an inward journey. I mean, this is one of the reasons that people follow Jesus or worship Jesus rather than follow Jesus. Because when you worship Jesus, it's just you going through the motions of asking God for a blessing, hoping that Jesus smiles down on you so that Jesus can then defend you to God because God's angry at all of humanity.
Yeah.
Following Jesus is taking up a cross. He said that. If you're going to follow me, take up your cross. And your cross is going to be different than my cross or someone else's cross. The idea is that you locate the shadow within and that you learn how to integrate it and in some ways crucify it, sanctifying it on the altar of the beam that is horizontal and vertical. It's vertical because it's our relationship with God, and it's horizontal because it's our relationship with humanity. And it's being able to see yourself, truly see yourself in the eyes of unconditional love. And I tell people on a regular, if God's love is unconditional, then nothing about your condition can change God's love for you, because if it could, it would no longer be unconditional love.
Amen. Amen.
When we live from that place, we don't become bigger sinners, whatever that is. We don't become more evil. We become overcome by the passion and the compassion of divine presence that lived, dwelled in, and was exemplified by Jesus the Christ. Jesus said, "The things you see me do, you shall do also, and greater things shall you do." And I would suggest that we get to doing that, because it's timely now that we can take a look at a system that's been built to marginalize certain groups of people, so that there's another group of people, a very small group of people, who get to live off of the spoils of the wealth of all of these individuals. And this country, I mean, so many people don't want to talk about it, but if we don't tell the truth about where we've been, we're not going to be able to tell a new story. History only repeats itself because we don't tell the truth about it. When we tell the truth about it, it breaks the cycle of that curse and causes it to stop getting into a loop. Doing justice is the work that we have been put in this life to do, my friend. It's not about how well we talk from the platform, what seminary we went to, how many graduate degrees we have. It's not about being Bible scholars and academicians. It's about committing ourselves to a higher call, and that higher call is to follow Jesus in his Christed nature so that we can then also open up the Christ consciousness within us. When you say Christ consciousness these days, though, people want to fight with it and think it's a new age terminology. It actually just means to think like Christ. That's what Christ consciousness is. Let this mind be in you, which also was in Jesus, who saw it not robbery to count himself equal with God. The equality with God was not about a superior space. It was about the recognition of our integration into that divine nature. When we do that, that's when we become the light of the world, because that's the surge that's needed, the electrical surge, if you will, to the energy that we are, to turn the light on of our nature. I believe that happens with our activity in justice. It doesn't mean that we become mean and angry. It doesn't mean that we get vitriolic and violent and that we go out and we try to harm other people to protect these others. It's that we start to lift up our voice. I hear people so often saying, that, you just need to rise above it, raise your vibrational frequency. Why are you getting political? You're a minister. You shouldn't be saying political things. Well, folks, I'm not getting political. I'm talking about human beings. We're talking about a higher calling. This is morality. This is very basic human rights and human dignity that we're talking about here. We're not talking about politics.
I posted recently a great rendition of Michael McDonald and the Dukes of September doing "Taking It to the Street," and I posted under the caption "Acts 2, the musical."
I love that. That's great.
It so fascinates me that in Acts 2, when Jesus had said, "Look, guys, just as you said, you're going to do greater stuff than I did. I'm going to empower you. Go wait, and when the time's right, this is going to happen." And here we are, when the day of Pentecost has fully come, and here we are all in an upper room. And all of a sudden, there's a sound like a mighty rushing wind. And I asked the Lord one day, I said, "What's that all about?" And what I got was, I'm getting ready to blow their minds. And then there's this tongues of fire on their head. And I said, "Okay, what's that about?" And he said, "Well, it's like a pre-GE light bulb." Oh, I get it. And they did what any wise person would do when they had flame and wind in a building. They exited the building, and they never went back. They never went back. You are so right that it's not what's said on Sunday morning from the pulpit that really makes the change. It's what's said Monday morning at the office, or Tuesday at noon at the subway, or Thursday afternoon at the checkout line.
Yeah.
I had a medical procedure a couple years ago, little surgical procedure, and they were keeping me, and somebody around me tested positive for COVID, so they tested me, and I had a very low positive. Didn't get any side effects, so I'm not a COVID victim, but they quarantined me, shut me down, man. I mean, my door was shut in my room. They kept me for an extra 7 days. Everybody was masked up and everything when they came in the room. But I was on a call one afternoon, a Zoom call one afternoon, and my door opened, and a nurse started in, and I heard myself say, "Guys, you're going to have to excuse me, but one of my congregation just walked in the door." I've never pastored a church. Flo and I were ordained 40 years ago, but never felt led to pastor a church. But on that day, I realized that for just even the moments that I may encounter someone in a checkout line, or in a quick phone call, or in a business meeting, or any variety of things, ever so often the Lord will cause me to realize, hey, you're talking to your congregation. And that's where the do gets done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's where the do gets done, I believe. Yeah,
I agree. I
and it's
agree.
clear to me, by the way, that everything I've seen about you, that's exactly where you're living. By the way, did I catch a clip way back on your Facebook page of you doing some music? Did I see you doing a little keyboard work? And
Oh yes. Look,
yeah,
I came out of the womb singing in the key of wah. I have I have been a singer and a songwriter and a musician my whole life. People ask me, how long have you been singing? It's easier for me to tell you how long I haven't.
yeah, and you were putting a little black soul in that sound when I heard it, man. I mean, you were interpreting the song, not just playing it, man. It was nice. I've been a player most of my life, and
Nice.
had some
Nice.
great experiences around that. Wrote a bunch of stuff back in the '90s. Had a band gather around me of great players, old bar players that didn't want to play in the bars, and so we had the Grateful Save for about 15 years. And I'll
Nice.
send you a link to my Bandcamp site. And then I did an acoustic project. Jimmy Ratcher produced it, but yeah, do justice,
Yeah.
do
Do
justice.
justice. Yeah. And what does that look like? You know, it's not me, it's not me, it's not them, it's just us. It's us. You know, being able to see myself in my neighbor, right? To be able to locate. There's a word out of the East, and the word is namaste. And namaste essentially means I see in you the same reflection of the divine as I have allowed myself to see in me. It's recognizing our oneness. It's recognizing our relationship to all of life and seeing the beauty in it past somebody's religious expression, political type and stripe, someone's sexual orientation or identity. That's not any of my business. Whatever is going on in their world, my calling is to be nothing but unconditional love in their life and to help to share the truth that you you are not separate from the divine. You can't get outside of the divine. You never could. You wouldn't be able to exist. The only way to live is to be in the divine, and you're not separate. That's been a doctrine of fear.
I did a little modification on that. I'll end a call with Weird Mustache. The weirdness in me honors the weirdness in you. Thought you'd like that. Yeah, that's my normal. That's not my normal end to a call. And but yeah, there is no them,
Yeah, there's no them.
no them at all,
It's just us.
and that puts a whole different perspective on it. You spoke to something else Rohr said recently. Jesus is a lot easier to worship than he is to emulate. Yeah,
So
and
true.
you nailed that perfectly earlier on this conversation.
Yeah.
Anything more we want to say about doing justice, John?
Um, you know, I don't think so, other than go within, right? And ask yourself, how do I want to be treated? I mean, come on, at the end of the day, the golden rule comes to mind. There's your justice rule, to do unto others as I would have them do unto me. And so ask yourself in every situation, you know, how would I want to be treated? When you see how immigrants are being treated in this country, when you see how black and brown skinned people are being treated in this country, how women are being treated in comparison to men in certain parts of the world and in this country, ask yourself, what if that was me? Like, how would I want to be treated? And then go and do that. Go and do that.
I bought a Toyota Scion XB a number of years ago. Bought in the dealership, and I went back to the service department, and I said, guys, before I buy this car, tell me what you think. And a couple of them said, well, it's simple, and we don't have many maintenance issues on it, and so on and so forth. And finally, one guy said, Bob, I bought one for my mom. And I said, conversation's over.
Yeah.
Well, what would you do if it was your mom, people?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, you can even be harder on yourself than than on your mom.
True. Good statement.
What would you do if it was your mom? Because it is somebody's mom or somebody's dad or somebody's brother or sister, and spiritually, it's your brother or sister.
There you
Beautiful.
go. There you
Beautiful
go.
thing.
Absolutely.
Love mercy, and some people refer to that as love kindness, which I like a great deal.
I
Let's
do
talk
too.
about that, Jon. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I love the word kindness. I prefer kindness over niceness. I think niceness is an excuse. I don't think that
Mm,
it's the same thing as kindness. Kindness has the root word kin in it. It's a recognition
mm,
of the
mm,
family of humanity.
mm.
And kindness is a deeper level than niceness. Niceness to me is the person at Chick-fil-A when you order your food and you say thank you and they say my pleasure, but you can tell it didn't really pleasure them, right? So that's niceness because it's required. It's good manners. Kindness for me comes out of compassion. This is why the Dalai Lama said that compassion and kindness is my religion. Because the Dalai Lama even went further than to say love has been so cheapened often, the use of the word, the misuse of the word, that he preferred compassion over the word love. Compassion is that deeper sense of empathy. It's a connection on a deeper level. Go back to the namaste. The the that there's a depth to kindness. And so when we're saying love mercy, I love that you've put the word kindness in there instead of mercy, because again, mercy is really convoluted in our language as well.
It's almost
Um,
condescending.
yeah, exactly. Whereas kindness, that's why I like all these T-shirts I see around. This is just be kind or choose kindness. Wayne Dyer used to say, you can be anything and do anything. Choose kindness. You can be and do anything. Choose kindness. I would rather be kind than right. And I think what we're dealing with right now is a large swath of people that just want to be right rather than kind. And so love kindness, fall in love with kindness, asking yourself every day, in every situation you come in contact with your wife, your husband, your partner, your loved ones, your children, the people at the grocery store, how can I be kind to them? How can I show kindness? Seriously, make it a practice.
It's it's really easy because it's the nature of your soul
It
to be
is.
kind. There's so many people trying to be right these days. You're exactly correct in that, because they're in conflict with their soul. Their soul knows better.
Mm-hmm.
Their soul knows, by the way, that in their DNA is to do justice
Mm-hmm.
and love kindness.
Yes.
And and the thing that will bring that out in them is doing it toward them.
Yeah,
It's just a natural response.
it
All
is.
the great warm stories that we see that all of a sudden come out, wow, did you know? It always goes back to somebody was kind, and everybody loves it because their soul relates to it.
Absolutely.
Their soul relates to it, man. And it's in their it's intuitive to us to be kind if we allow ourselves to be. A good
Yes.
sister said to me once, your intuition is your soul's ambition.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been taught not to trust our intuition from the pulpit.
Oh, yeah.
But so you're going to stand in a pulpit and tell me that God made me wrong?
Hmm.
Really?
And
Really?
the answer back is yeah.
Yeah.
You really
Yeah.
seriously with the
Yeah.
way they respond. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So kindness, and
Yeah.
such a powerful point. The root of that is kin.
Mm-hmm.
There we get back to that's my brother and my sister I'm talking to.
Yes. Yes.
And think about all the change that is made the minute you see a woman as your sister or a man as your brother.
Yes. Yes. It shifts the whole narrative in your mind.
Yeah.
The issue with, and boy, this gets deep and it could go deep quick. My biggest I think, well, I don't have an axe to grind with it anymore, because it's really a waste of time. And I think we're told in the book of Revelation to, to grind those swords and those axes that we have to grind into plowshares instead. So I'm going to go with it. That's the work that I'm doing in my life.
Okay.
One of the issues is that we have been taught separation as our original state of being, the original sin. And I know I run a chance of being the heretic on the show. That's okay. I have a tattoo. It's at the words heretic. The word heretic is at the foot of a cross on my tattoo. And to some folks, I'm just a hairy tick. So I don't know.
Well, you're not very hairy, but I think it was Strong who said a heretic is not at enemy with God, but a man who prefers truth over tradition.
Ooh,
yeah, I wrote a blog post around that several years ago called "Hope I'm a Heretic."
Yes, and often the difference between a heretic and a prophet is just time.
Yeah.
Give it time.
Yeah. Who was it? Chesterton. All great truth begins as heresy.
Yes, you're exactly right. So in light of that, then, one of the biggest issues I believe we're dealing with currently, and it's coming up as trauma, because that's what it is this teaching that we're separate. So when we're separate from God, and then we get saved from God or from the devil, not sure which, it depends on the church you go to.
Yeah.
We get saved from God or from the devil, then we're a part of the in crowd. But in order to have a solid in crowd, there needs to be a significant out crowd.
Yeah.
So we automatically then go, and our separation now is, I'm not separate from God anymore, you are. So now, and don't you want to join the club? That's good for business, but it's not good for the unification, and it's not good for authentic truth. And so we have been programmed to believe that all of these people, them, whoever they are separate from us, and that they're dangerous, and they have the devil in them. And they're, because this is why you can say of all, essentially, they basically say all immigrants are rapists and thieves and murderers and gangbangers. And we want an enemy because we find that it's a quicker way to cause people to come together in unity against a common enemy. And that's what we've seen happen, is the distortion. And the reason it works so well is because we've been hypnotized. If you watch a hypnotist do their work, they'll give a cue word or a cue sound to the person. And when they bring them out of the hypnosis, then to give that example to the whole group that's watching it, they'll give the trigger word. I saw a hypnotist do this one time to a gentleman, and he taught him to bark while he was in hypnosis, gave him the cue word. Got him into a conversation after they had come out. He gave the cue word, and the man immediately began to bark. This is what has happened with the hypnosis that's driven into us, most of us, from our birth. We were in the womb hearing these messages about hellfire and brimstone, and you're separate from God, and the original sin is who you are. You're born in sin and shaped in iniquity. That shows up one time in the Bible, and it's become a major doctrine in evangelical Christianity. And what that has created is the psychosis from the trauma of separation. And so in the womb, 5 weeks in utero until around 6 or 7 years old, we are sponges, and we're gathering between 40 and 50 million bits of information per second. We're just soaking that up. Then when we turn somewhere around 7 or 8 years old, consciousness kicks in, and we start to work from a consciousness state rather than just being a sponge. Whatever we have learned during that space becomes our program. This is why the Jesuits used to say, bring me your baby when they're born. I'll bring them back to you at 7, and I'll show you the man he'll be. Because they knew that in that stage of time, they could train that person to essentially become a loop. And what we don't know is that the renewing of the mind, the only reason Paul talks about it is because of how ingrained in his belief system he was. And he realized that he needed to be reprogrammed, but had to be deprogrammed first. So we need a major defragmentation of our mindset as human beings, especially in the Western world, where we've been taught original sin. I'll say this and then I'll hush on this one. I think we learn to love kindness more when we're healed and we're not constantly in trauma response from the separation belief. The original sin was the teaching of original sin.
Survival, I'll go back to Maxwell. Survival would be that, oh my gosh, the gospel began in Genesis 3. What am I going to do? Significance would be, or success would be, I'm now part of the tribe, so I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
But significance won't happen until we get past those things. By the way, you've dropped the phrase New Age 3 or 4 times. I challenge anyone to show me anybody more New Age in history than Jesus was.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And he ushered in a new age, and we're a part of that new age, and we are moment by moment offered opportunity to participate in and further and grow that new age.
Yes.
Wow.
And Bob, that's what I think we're doing here.
Yeah.
And as we try to get this message out, we're not out here. I don't know if you are, but I feel like that you're not out here trying to tell people they're wrong. This is not even about attacking people. This is about not, I've told folks, I'm not here to cast shade. I'm here to shed light on a better way or a possible better way. And if you don't think it's a better way, at least consider a different narrative around Jesus, the Bible, Christianity, religion. Consider a different narrative instead of shutting it down. Be curious.
When you sit down with a good drummer and a good bass player and a good guitar player, when you sit down at the keys and you've got a good tune, you don't look to correct that tune. What you do is look to take that tune, and everybody looks to play their part, augmenting what everybody else is playing for the full benefit of the tune. When the Save first got together, there was a great, phenomenal guitar player named Greg Hawes. The first guitar player to come to me was a guy named Carl Butler, and he and I got together, and I'm convinced, by the way, the band came together because everybody wanted to play with Carl. He was that kind of guy, you know. But he sent a tape over to Greg Hawes, and Greg called me one day. I barely knew the man. He called me one day and he said, "Man, I want to play in your band." And I said, "Well, we need to get together and talk about it." He said, "I don't want to talk about it. I want to play in your band." And we get together for the first rehearsal, and I put a tune that I'd written in front of, pretty funky tune, or not funky, but rocky. And Greg said, "So, Bobby, what do you want me to play on this tune?" And I thought, that guy asked me what to play. I'm the guy that's going to play acoustic rhythm in this band because I know my place, right?
Yeah.
I thought, that guy asked me what to play on this tune, and that's one of those James 1:5 moments of any man lack wisdom, let him ask of God deals right there.
Yeah.
And what I said is, brother, you know the tune, you know the chord structure, you know what key we're trying. You even heard the words. You really know what I'm trying to say. If we play what I tell you to play, the limit of what we're going to get is the limit of my imagination.
Mm.
Why don't you play what you hear?
Yes.
And if I don't like it, I'll let you know. I played music with that guy for 12, 13 years. And the only problem I ever had with his guitar breaks was that they were so original and so unique that I'd get focused on them and I'd almost forget to come back in on the vocals.
Yeah.
When we realize who we are in a group, I consulted for years and went to meetings for a living. And I came to know that you can walk in a room with a consulting project and you could say, here's what we're going to do. And what they got was the benefit of your 120, 125, 130, whatever your IQ is and whatever your years of experience are and whatever your day is like. Oh, that's what they get. But if you walk into a room of 10 people, and instead of saying, here's what we're going to do, you say, guys, what are we going to do here? All of a sudden, you get the multiplier of IQ, you get the multiplier of experience, you get the multiplier of originality. You go from being a a Chromebook to a supercomputer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when we start seeing mankind around us, we start freeing that in them. We're not trying to tell them they're wrong, brother. We're here to tell them they're right. They just don't know it.
Mm. Yeah.
Am I thinking? Am I following your train there?
Yeah. Yeah. That this is not about a competition.
No.
That's not even why we're saying what we're saying now. We're just asking people to look at the world and ask yourself, is this the kind of world that I really want to live in? That I really envision? Because the only reason, as Deepak Chopra would tell us, the only reason the world is the way it is because enough people have agreed upon doing it this way. We are the energy that can shift it and sift it and shape it. It's like Plato. This is what was left to us by the divine, who said, now you name the animals. It's still telling us to name the animal spirits, the animal ideas, the animal like and animated like and energy that we see, life that we see in the world. So that's all we're saying is, hey, listen, let's be a little more creative. We've had the incarceration and inflammation of too much information without a surrender to the inspiration. And inspiration means to be in spirit. That's all it means. And I was in the spirit on the Lord's day. When's the Lord's day? This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So when am I in the spirit? On the Lord's day. That means I'm inspired daily. Too much information without enough inspiration leads to inflammation. And that's why we see that in our world today. There's so much data flying around. You don't know whether it's true or not. The news is always spinning and it keeps us in a spin. We need to take a deep breath and go back within so that we stop going without.
It's in there and it's right.
Yeah.
It's in there and it's right. The that thing that gave you that perfect chord voicing, or that nice little trill, or that space that you left in the tune to make room for somebody else. All of those subtle things that happen that make the song happen, because in that environment, in a great band, everybody's about making everybody else sound better. Everybody
Yes.
is, I was never a great electric player. I was decent, but pretty good acoustic player, and a finger picker, and I'd have young people come to me and say, "Would you give me guitar lessons?" And I'd say, "Well, I don't know how." And they'd say, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I never took any." And they said, "Well, how did you learn?" And I said, "I played with better players."
Yeah.
If we look around us, we are walking among people who in different ways are better players than we are.
Yeah.
And I think this, and it didn't intentionally do this, but I think this segues us over into walking humbly.
I knew you were going to go there. I could feel it.
Man, I didn't know I was going to go there, so I appreciate that. But it takes us over. It truly takes us over to, my spirit respects and values your spirit.
Yes.
I firmly believe that if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, or you think too highly of yourself, one or the other.
Well, yeah, exactly. Which, yeah, oops, right? But everybody in the room, everybody in the store, everybody in the restaurant, everybody in the wherever you are in the hospital room was conceived with the divine nature of the Creator.
Yes. Yes.
And that DNA don't go away, bro.
No.
It does not go away. It's there.
Yes.
So that if we then, using the musical analogy, say, if I play this lick, you think do you think Griggy would play that lick, man? Or maybe I really wonder what he'd do if I put this little chop in, or I wonder what he would do around this lyric. What's that going to inspire him to do? And what environment can I turn him loose that brings that out in him, so that the only problem I have with what he said is trying to keep up, man. I mean, you're like, whoa, what was that?
Yeah.
I, by the way, and I don't want to get off on this necessarily, but you'll relate to it. I think a good band is a perfect example of how it ought to work.
I agree.
Yeah. Everybody's got go ahead.
It's unity, not uniformity.
Yep.
It's sounding together, not sounding alike. And that's leads us to this humility thing, to walk humbly with your God. To me, if I can, right here, what I hear is I hear the voice of the divine saying, don't ever get to the place where you think you have me figured out. Because it's not a mathematical problem to figure out. It's a nature to rest through surrender back into.
And just as I would have limited Greg by saying, why don't you play this?
Yeah.
Why in any form of reason would we say, now listen, God, I need you to fit in this box?
And yet we do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It didn't work out real well. The Ark of the Covenant, just God in the box, just didn't work out real well, did it? I mean, and sadly, and I said to Flo not long ago, am I getting cynical? And she said, you're getting old enough that you deserve to be cynical. Telling everybody they're okay doesn't seem to be profitable. I'll say often, are you in it for a PROFIT or a PROPHET? Which profitable are you in it for? Ministered a lot in prison, love to do it. Whale in jail, man. There's nothing like it. And the Kansas State Penitentiary at Ellsworth, medium security, and somebody decades ago, some private group got together and built what they call a spiritual life center in the middle of that prison yard. Octagon-shaped building, by the way. It's really cool. And I saved, we'd gone out there and played a lot, but the chaplain called me one weekend. He said, you're coming up to play this weekend. Why don't you bring Flo and would stay with us overnight, and would you preach on Sunday? I said, yeah, I'll do that. A lot of cool things happened there that Sunday. I walked in the door a little early, and the inmate there that was kind of in charge of the music said, Brother Bob, could we play a song for you? And I said, sure. And I have a song called Broken that I'll send you. Those guys, they would let me leave CDs in there and not call them contraband, so my music was all over the place. And those brothers sat down and played Broken for me.
Mm.
I was a puddle when that was over, man.
I'm sure.
But they got up and did announcements before I preached, and one of the things they said is, how many members are we going to lose this week? Several guys held their hand up, and everybody clapped. And I got up, and I don't remember what I preached on that Sunday, but I remember saying very clearly how refreshing it is to be in a church where the members are glad to see their members go out. What a metaphor of you're no longer a captive here. You can now go out into life. And wow. Take, by the way, my longtime friend Brian Zahn, I was in a meeting of about 150 charismatic pastors about almost 20 years ago now that he spoke at, and he got up and said, Luther nailed 95 petitions to the church door today. I'm going to give you 9.5. I'm packing my bags and leaving the charismatic movement.
Yeah.
He said, the reason I'm packing my bags is there are things there that of value that I don't want to leave behind, but can't let them hold me back. You and I are encountering on a regular basis people who are in some stage of that journey. And the most valuable thing we can do for them is tell them it's okay to take a step.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay on the outside. I had that was on a Monday. A Saturday night before that, I had found myself on the floor in my living room floor in the middle of the night, all of a sudden not being offended by things I was supposed to be offended by.
Hmm.
And I said, I literally said out loud, God, am I losing it? And then Monday I go and BZ gets up, and BZ and I go way back, and never been a member of his church, but time after time we've interacted. I love to say I served time in jail with him because we used to go in, I'd play music and he'd preach, but he got up and said all the things he said. And afterwards I went to him and said, brother, were you in my living room Saturday night?
Hmm.
He freed me. He told me it was okay not
Yeah.
be offended.
Yeah.
Walk humbly, man. Talk more about it.
First of all, I love Brian Zahnd. He was on my podcast years ago. I had a podcast for a few years called The Holy Heretics. And he was on that podcast, an interview a couple of times. Walk humbly. This is what I hear today, and maybe would hear something different on a Friday. Bishop Carlton Pearson.
Absolutely.
Bishop Carlton Pearson, excuse me, my car is going off here. Folks, how do you like this? I'm interviewing from my car. Special. Bishop Carlton Pearson is my spiritual father.
Wow.
My mentor since 2008. Of course, he transitioned. This November was 2 years ago.
Yes.
And if I've ever seen somebody who was the walking embodiment of humility, yet so academically advanced, and he's got Aretha Franklin and Stevie Wonder on speed dial, and knows all of these people, but he is the walking example of humility. And he would tell me on a regular basis, Jonathan, what you need to understand, son, is that you believe a whole lot, but you know very little. He would constantly remind us, you believe a whole lot, but you know very little. Yes, sir. I hear you. Yes, sir. And without knowing it, he was teaching me what the Buddhists call the beginner's mind. And the beginner's mind idea is that you're able to look at every day with its information and all of the ideas that you've held onto, that you've grasped. We like to say we have a grasp on theology. And my feeling about that is if you have a grasp on it, you're probably choking the life out of it. There's no such thing as theology. Even the root word is theory. We're theorizing about what we think about God. But the beginner's mind from the Buddhist tradition is essentially, as I breathe out, I let go of my concept of what that means so that I can make room for more meaning to come. And I'm never holding on to any belief and grasping it and holding it and making sure it doesn't get away from me. We grew up, I don't know if you grew up with this, but I grew up with this. You better know what you stand for or you'll fall for anything.
Yeah.
That ingrained in us that you better be right. Yeah. And I've traded in rightness for kindness and for curiosity. The saying curiosity killed the cat is another level of programming to make us afraid of being curious. And so you have literalists who actually believe that they are living a life of Christ. But even St. Paul said the letter kills. The spirit gives life. So when I think of walking humbly with God, it's not walking with God as if I figured God out. Not ever. It's always being the student who is open to learn. I want to be somebody who is every day reminding myself that I believe a whole lot, but I know very little. And in the Taoist tradition, it's called the Wu Wei, like water, flowing like water. And if you notice, water always seeks the low point. It never tries to achieve the high point. If you power wash a house and you spray the very top corner of the house, watch what water does as quickly as it can. It rolls back to the ground. and it doesn't judge a single crack or crevice that it runs into. And if you don't believe that, just watch the next time you take a shower. It literally is just being and allowing. See, even the river doesn't flow, it's being the flow, because it's being pulled by gravity, it's being pulled by elevation. It's constantly, it's just being. And so this is something I adopted when I think about walk humbly. I adopted this for myself. According to science, we're about 75% water. And so I've chosen to live 75% of my life completely flexible and fluid. And I'm doing a 75-25. There's other parts that I get a little, rigid about, but I'm choosing to make it the practice. And that's what I think it means by walking humbly.
The only sermon I ever choreographed, if you will, or used any kind of visual aids. By the way, if you want to hear a bad sermon, hear one that I've prepared. What the Lord always did with me is here's a scripture. That's it. Go for it. And I'd been asked to preach on a Sunday morning, and on Saturday afternoon, the Lord said, "I want you to talk about David and Goliath." And I, of course, got into that scripture immediately. And what I got was, go find 5 smooth stones. For the life of me, John, I couldn't find anywhere to buy 5 smooth stones. A landscape, couldn't find anywhere. And I finally ended up on my knees in a creek bed. That's where I found the 5 smooth stones. Now, the creek bed's the lowest part of the valley, brother.
Yeah.
And those 5 smooth stones were smooth because the water had run over them for who knows how long.
Yes.
An immeasurable amount of time. Lord showed me a couple of things about that. The 5 smooth stones are the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, the ecclesia, the gathering, and the man who's willing to be thrown into the situation. First out, last in, first out, by the way. But he also showed me, if you're going to kill giants, you're going to start out on your knees in the lowest part of the valley. You're going to get humble, brother. You're going to get humble.
Yeah.
David, man, there was no arrogance there.
Right.
He said, "Who is this guy?" I mean, God's not going to put up with this. What's the deal here? And when they saw it, by the way, when they saw he was going to take on Goliath, they immediately tried to get him in the group. Well, here's a sword and the armor. In other words, we need to look like you're part of our denomination before you can succeed here.
Yep.
David says, "No, man. I mean, I killed a bear and a lion with my slingshot, and they were doing what was natural. They were just trying to get something to eat. They weren't blaspheming God.
No.
This guy's toast." Water. What a beautiful analogy, John, of living your life based on who you are.
That's it. Being in that flow.
Yeah. Just, and out of your belly, by the way, flows rivers
Of living water.
It's unlimited.
Unlimited.
I come from South Missouri, near Arkansas, and Flo and I were forced to leave there. By the way, we married outside the family, and that's shouted, but the big spring down just across the Missouri line on Highway 63, Mammoth Springs, and boy, that's an understatement. Millions of gallons of beautiful, crystal clear, pure water flow out of that thing, and have forever. I mean, it's timeless.
Yeah.
That's an example of who we are.
Yes. Yes. And if we can move past the concepts that have conned us into believing that we have to get that tapped from somewhere else, someone else. We can open up the well that's on the inside of us. This is all Jesus is ever doing. Jesus is never trying to hopefully change how God views us. Jesus is just hoping to change how we view God, because it's our perception that's our ultimate reality. It's not the ultimate reality, but it's our ultimate reality. And what you perceive can deceive you and cause you to conceive within the womb of your being a monster. And that's what we've seen happen in our world. And it's energetic. It's not a person in particular. This is why when people get, upset about, when you call a particular name of a particular politician at this time, what folks need to understand is that I love him too. I love him.
Yeah.
I see a hurt, traumatized little boy who has always needed to feel significant, always needed to have power, always needed to be in charge, needed to feel worthy and valuable, who is projecting that pain onto the world. So I see the divine nature that's in there, and I also see the injured individual. And at the same time, I also know that it's incumbent on us who can see that to not just call it out, but to try to call us all up higher above that.
Yes. Yes. The answer to what profited the man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul it's a rhetorical question.
Yes.
And my heart goes out to the man.
Yes.
What I said recently on a call, if you don't believe in hell, think about being a billionaire, and it's not enough. Think about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wrote a blog the other day. I haven't posted it yet, but the title of it is Go to Hell. Because we encounter people every day that are there.
Yeah.
They're living in it.
Currently.
And I don't believe in Dante's eternal fire. I don't believe in
that. Makes two of us.
Yeah, I don't believe in PSTD, which is, a penal substitution theology disorder.
Yeah.
But I know that hell exists because I see it around me.
Oh yeah.
I see it in the eyes of a mother in Gaza, or a mother saying, my son was an ICU nurse.
Yeah.
And we lost him. I see it in the eyes of a woman of color who says, where you guys been? This has been going on in our neighborhood forever.
Yeah.
Where you been? I know it exists. And my point in the blog was we have power over it.
Yes.
Jesus went to hell for us and said, guys, you're going to do better than I did. you, come on, man. I'm turning you loose. Yeah, don't play what I told you to play. Play what you hear, man.
Yes. What's the song asking of you?
Yeah. And what an opportunity it is to get to play your original chop. I had a worship leader turn to me one time and said, don't improvise. And I said, why am I here? Why don't we just play the CD? Huh? I mean, I got a Mesa Boogie rig and a good Strat I could sell and put it in a CD. I mean, what am I doing here? Yeah.
Right.
Because we need to allow ourselves to let that lick that was in us that we didn't even know was there be inspired out.
Yes.
And play that extra little chop that we don't know what it's going to do. Michael McDonald has no idea. I never was a keyboard guy, but good grief, man. Michael McDonald has no idea what he's done for me in the middle of the night. No way he'll ever know.
Yeah. Love Michael. Love him.
Yeah. Gotta love the doobies, man.
Oh, bro.
It was never about how much of the door did we get? It was about, wow, this guy. I mean, so we got, there's a good drummer sitting in the crowd, and we got there's an extra drum set up on the stage. Why don't we invite him up to play with us? And all of a sudden they turn into a 2-drummer band. I mean,
Yeah.
it was why it was always about the art. It was always about the story.
Yes. Yes.
Dwayne Allman said, don't be afraid to go for it. Dwayne Allman said they took all my mistakes and turned them into a style.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I love to say, bro, that the steps of a righteous man are ordered of the Lord, even when he stumbles.
Yes.
And goodness and mercy follow you all the day. That's God's got your back.
All the way.
Just go out there and do it, right?
Yes. And right now, there is a great awakening that's occurring. There's a great emergence of a different kind of human being, a different species, if you will, not to get too woo-woo, but there is a res erecting that is currently, I believe, happening, and it is calling for the poets to write your poetry. I'll try not to get too emotional here. Write your poetry.
Yeah.
Sing your songs.
Yeah.
Dance your dance.
Come on.
Say your spoken word. Now is the time. We see this throughout the ages, that the ones who step to the front line are not the ones who shoot the straightest. It's the ones who could bring the spirit through the arts. And we're seeing that occurring right now. That's why there's an attempt to squelch art. That's why there's an attempt to throw a blanket over that flame. Let's not let that happen. Now's the time to sing the songs and dance the dance. If you're a choreographer, choreograph dances in a way you've never choreographed before. If you are an ice skater, skate like you've never skated before. If you're a singer, sing those songs, write that poetry, paint that art. Now is the time, because what you're doing is ushering in this new emergence, this great emergence. Brother, we're just in the delivery room. That's why it's messy. And we feel the squeeze. We feel the squeeze because we're getting ready to head out of a place you ain't supposed to be able to head out of. That's why it feels twisted, and contractions are happening. The contractions are happening because we made a bad contract that we need to tear up and renegotiate with the universal principle, because that's a neutral power. God's power is not neutral, but the energy of the universe is a neutral power, and it's asking us to rethink. This is what repentance is, metanoia, which means to change your thoughts, change your mind, question the answers, and ask for the quest and the journey into humility. And now is the time for us to rethink. Can we do life better? Past the programming. Get out of the programming. Leave the program.
Come on.
Release yourself from the incarceration. Be free. Getting out into the unknown is the walk of faith. The certain don't need faith. It's the uncertain that lean on faith. So step into the unknown. You're going to be okay. I know you've been told that you're not going to be okay, that if you do this, you'll be deceived by the devil. Come on. The devil is the deception that you're not going to be okay, that the threat of God is the devil. God is not threatening you. God's calling us into the great unknown. This is the greatest awakening. I really believe in the next 40, 50 years, maybe a little longer, and maybe sooner, I don't know, that this will go down in history as the new her story, Sophia, wisdom.
Yeah.
And it will declare that this is the greatest awakening in the history of human evolution.
A little more than 51 years ago, I was in a delivery room, and Ted Baldwin, the doctor who was a friend of mine, said, "You're welcome in here, but here's the word: don't faint." I never knew 51 years ago that would apply right now.
Wow.
Don't faint.
Thank you for that, Bob. Thank you. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength and shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not grow weary. They shall walk and not faint.
Brother John, you've given me an hour of your time, and it's very valuable. There's a world out there that needs your time, and I know you're giving it freely. Where can people find you on the socials?
Oh, at your own risk, go looking for me. um, Facebook, I believe is going to be Jon Scott Music, and it's the John is with a Jon, not
It is,
not
and
a,
it's Jon Scott, public figure, actually.
okay, Jon Scott
Yeah,
public figure. Okay.
yeah.
And then on Instagram, you can find, I believe it's Rev Jon Scott _1 love, I believe is what it is right now. I think so.
Yeah.
I'd have to look at it and see. I believe that's what it is. And then on TikTok, it's official Jon Scott and or official, maybe official Rev Jon Scott, but it's Jon wherever you look. Firstunity.org. That's the name of the community that I serve in currently. And so that will also kind of lead you in a roundabout way to some of my own personal socials.
Oh, wait, you're a Unitarian? We can't talk.
Isn't that funny? I used
Oh,
to think
man.
that I used to think that unity churches were Unitarian, but actually they're two different denominations, as you well know. But
Yeah,
then this is what's interesting about the group that I serve. It's actually a non-denominational, what's called a non-denominational New Thought church, that's 100 years old. It's 101 actually this year in St. Petersburg, Florida.
yeah,
And they started out as a unity church, like unity from
yeah, yeah,
Unity Worldwide, Unity Village.
yeah.
And now it's a non-denominational church. It has been for about 10 or 12 years. Their previous minister decided for them to become independent. So
When I first came to Kansas City, I mowed grass at Unity Village in Lee Summit, Missouri. And they were very
beautiful.
kind people.
Oh
Very
yeah.
kind people, loved them. Yeah,
Yes.
I want so much. Obviously, I'll put you on my YouTube channel. I'm going to put you out on my wall. I want so much for people that I know to hear you, and I want them to connect with you.
Thank you, Bob.
You have you are allowing the water to flow, and the world's thirsty, man. All you who are thirsty, come to the water.
Mm-hmm.
If you're hungry, come by and eat. Wine,
Yes.
milk, and honey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
All you can eat buffet.
Don Francisco did that. Don Francisco, with that tune, showed me it was okay to be a Christian and keep playing guitar.
Well, thank you, Don Francisco,
Yeah,
and
I
he's
got to pass that
alive.
along to him one time. Yeah. Brother, anything else you want to say?
Just just thank you for the work you do in the world and have been doing for many years. Thank you for your work behind bars and helping those who are often the most forgotten in our world. I would say they and the elderly probably in a contest for being the most forgotten. So thank you for that. Thank you to your excuse me, to your audience for just giving us a chance to just share. I mean, and thank you for taking the time, and those of you who stuck around. Thank you for sticking around and do your best to go out and do justice, love, mercy, kindness, and just walk humbly with your God.